Hey guys, this is Austin.
And John.
And this is the Meatgistics podcast. So, for today, we got to start off with the usual.
Yep.
We got our beer of the day. So, John and I, we each buy a beer for the other person. And I feel like it's a great way to start off the episode.
I agree.
So, I've got him something. He's got me something. I was kind enough to get him a koozie.
Yeah.
And he did not return the favor for me. So, we're just going to see.
My reveal is better. You
Okay.
lift that up.
Yeah. We'll see what each other got. We're going to kind of comment on it and kind of take it from there. I already like the green.
Ooh, a sour IPA.
Yeah, so I thought you might like an IPA if it was sour. And I've had that one before, and it's not horrible.
Oh, that's really good.
Really.
Yeah.
That actually makes me feel good. I
Ooh,
found an
I
IPA
really
that you
like
actually
that.
really like.
Tart, juicy, and sour.
Who's that by again?
Epic.
Epic
So this is
Brewing?
Epic.
Okay.
It is tart, juicy, and sour IPA, and it is absolutely delicious.
I have got the Luponic Distortion IPA. It's got kiwi, lychee, if
Mhm.
I pronounce that right, and Fiajoa.
Whatever that is.
I don't know how you say that word, but
I got that because have you ever had a lychee?
Mm-mm.
They're absolutely delicious. I mean, ridiculously good. Really rare. You don't see them very much, but as soon as I saw that, I'm like, ooh, I have to try that.
Is it a fruit?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually, like, if you see them canned, they're like preserved in like sugar syrup, and
Mhm.
those ones are even better, but super unhealthy.
Yeah.
So
The unhealthy stuff tastes better.
how is that?
It's good.
Not great.
It's a crisp and refreshing IPA.
Oh, perfect.
Looking at the color, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
It's not.
You like the hazier kind.
I like the hazy ones, but this is probably a better IPA for this time of year as we start getting a little warmer temperatures.
No.
This could be a mowing beer.
I strongly think that sours are awesome summer beers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're great winter beers too.
No.
I'm becoming more and more of a. I think it used to be I'd go ports and stouts, probably stouts first, then ports, then like dark brown ales. I think sour has overtaken them all. I don't know what's happening to me.
You're coming to the light. You're walking to the light slowly but surely. You're
To
getting out of the darkness.
lighter side. Yeah. No, definitely not. That is not happening. All right. So Austin has been slaving away over meat creations. This is where one of us cooks something, the other one tries it. We have no idea what it is, what seasoning, and we try to identify the seasoning that was used. Last week, I threw Austin a curveball with the roasted chipotle sweet green tea sausage.
That's
It's our
not
brand
even
new
fair.
one.
Yeah.
It was a curveball, I'll admit. And you made a couple of good guesses, but
Yeah, this one is going to be interesting for you. So I actually have two different things here. I'm changing the game up. You can start with whichever one you want. I've got two different things. I'm not going to tell John the whole thing behind this until he tries them. You can try and then guess, or try both and then guess. You take your pick. But as you taste them and you kind of get a feel for what they are, let me know what you're thinking, and I'll kind of fill you in as we go on what it is and why I did what I did.
okay.
Because it definitely has more of a story behind it, and I think we'll get to more of that as we get further along into this segment and the whole episode as it goes. But I feel like it's going to be a little bit different. It's out of the ordinary. Instead of doing a brat like John did for me, for those of you that are just listening instead of watching us on YouTube, what we have is breakfast sausage patties.
First of all, they're really good.
Really?
Really good.
Okay, that's good to know. I actually can still cook because most of the time anymore you do all the cooking here, so it's good to know that I still actually can cook something.
All right, I'm going to guess 1504.
No. Here's a better question. Do you think they're the same or are they different?
Oh, no, they tasted different. I think this one was hotter. Had some more spice to it for sure.
Okay.
Dixie?
No. Do you want
Am
me
I
to,
in the right category?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is a breakfast
Okay.
sausage. I can narrow it down for you a little bit.
Go ahead.
They're both the same flavor.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah.
Are they different proteins?
They are different proteins.
Okay.
That is, yeah. I want to have a conversation about different proteins.
Okay.
That's why
I'm
I
definitely
did this.
in on this. All right. So I guess 1504. It's not just the hot Italian, is it?
No, it's not Italian. It's breakfast sausage.
There's a hot Italian breakfast sausage, isn't there?
There's a hot Italian, but that's an Italian seasoning. That's not breakfast sausage.
I thought there was one that is hot Italian breakfast. No, I'm wrong.
There is a
I
hot
don't know
breakfast
why.
sausage. Well, there are a couple hot breakfast sausages.
Right.
Yes.
And this is clearly one of those.
Yes.
What is it?
It's the H110C, the Excalibur Seasonings H110C.
Should've guessed that.
It's actually our second most popular breakfast sausage seasoning. But one of the reasons I chose breakfast sausage is because I think most of the stuff that you make back here is a sausage,
Mhm.
and it's a lot of times it's cured, or if it isn't, it's a brat. So I figured that you had the least experience
That was accurate.
in the breakfast sausage realm. So I figured for my first one, I better not lose. But here's the
I thought I
next
had
thing.
you with the 1504. Had a little bit of red pepper in it. I know that's got some.
Yeah, I thought the red pepper was going to give me away,
No.
but I was willing to take that risk. So this doesn't have to be the game every week on the podcast.
Yes, it does.
But, well,
Oh, what you're going to explain next? Okay.
maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
You can decide if it is after this. Doing two proteins, should that be part of the game, or should it not?
Does the other person have to guess the proteins?
I'm about to ask you what the proteins are. That's not a part of the official game, because I think we need to keep a running tally over who is guessing correctly and who's not. So
Yeah, for sure.
we're both winning, I guess, against the other person because neither of us have guessed
Right,
correctly so
right.
far. But what protein do I have there?
Well, I was going to say beef and pork, but the look in your face is telling me that that's wrong. But I'm going to stick with beef and pork.
Beef and pork would be wrong.
Okay.
If you chose beef and pork, are you identifying one as the other, or do you just want me to say beef or pork is true for one of them?
One of them's beef, one of them's pork, and the other one's something else.
No.
Oh, one of them's beef, and the other one's something else.
No.
Neither one of them are beef or pork.
Neither is beef or pork.
Ooh. Well, that was very rude of you then.
I will tell you this. You can guess a couple more times if you
Okay.
want, but I don't think you're going to guess it.
Elk and moose?
No. But you're on the right track.
It's not venison.
Think outside the box.
Okay.
Part of the reason I did this, I guess, while you're thinking of what it might be, is as we're going through the times we're in, it is getting difficult sometimes to find the exact cut of meat that you want or the type of protein you want. And we'll get into more of this as we get to our Meat Matters section. But I chose two things.
It's not
that
human, is it? Did you feed me people?
It's a raccoon. No, I'm kidding. It's not raccoon. No, it's two different proteins that you normally don't get.
Okay.
It's two proteins that you're probably not going to wild game hunt either. One of them I think you could get. The other one you could, but I don't think you will.
Like emu or something? Ostrich?
No, it's too dark. Go back to beef. Think beef, but bigger.
Bison.
Yep. So yeah, the dark one, that's bison.
Okay.
And
And it's definitely much leaner.
really,
Well, it's very lean.
okay. It actually spit out more juice than the other one did, but there's a reason for that.
Reason being?
Do you want me to tell you what the other one is?
Yeah.
Okay. So the other one is Beyond Meat's
Oh,
Beyond Beef.
is it really?
Yeah. So it was very interesting working with that.
Okay.
So I'm very curious what it tastes like. I haven't tasted
Go ahead.
it yet.
It's.
So
I mean, it's good.
is it really?
No,
like-
hold on a second. No, that's. This is going to be bad. I was confusing you with my wife for a second there. We spend too much time together. Lisa's allergic to mushroom stuff, and there's mushroom stuff in there. So.
Oh,
So-
okay.
I mean, it's good.
That
That's
is good.
impressive. Well, Beyond Beef did a good job with that.
Mm. There's a difference on texture.
For sure. For sure. That's why I thought that one was beef and that was pork. But no, other way around. But
yeah.
And now that you say that, when you bite into it, it doesn't have the same texture. It's a little bit more crumbly. Even though it's well held together, it is a little bit more crumbly. As you bite it, it kind of breaks apart into more pieces in your mouth.
Yeah. So the bison, after eating it, looking at it, feeling it, as I mixed it, as I prepared it, it was very much like beef.
Okay.
The only thing that was not about the same as beef was the smell. Oh my goodness, it did not smell good.
Really?
Yeah, it just has, it has that wild game tint to it that I haven't smelled bison in so long, not really used to it. And I'm like, that's not, I want to smell beef. I love the smell of raw beef. That sounds weird, maybe, but fine. I love the smell of raw beef. If you could have like a raw beef, like plug in the wall scent deal, I'd be all in.
That's manly.
No one does that. So I'm trademarking and patent and copyright that for all time.
And then with my idea from earlier, we can change what we do here at Walton's and be billionaires.
I think we're going to go on Shark Tank with those ideas.
There you go.
Yeah.
Both of them. Okay. So how did you buy this ground? Did you buy it and then break? Okay. So it comes in a ground product.
It comes, 1 pound packages.
And you can reform it, obviously. Could you make sausage out of this?
Ooh, that's where I was experimenting a little bit as I was mixing, because as I mixed the bison, oh man, that stuff, it is lean. These are both 80-20. Supposedly. That's what the package says.
Interesting. Okay.
So they're supposedly the same fat ratio, but the bison just immediately, once I add the seasoning and start mixing, you can feel the protein extraction. You can feel it getting sticky, and I had to stop mixing because I'm like, okay, we're done.
Right. As you can, even where you went, obviously that's a little bit further. Like that's a little bit more protein extraction than you would normally see on a burger.
I mixed more than I should have, but I was trying to get an idea between the two, how it was going to go.
It still tastes good.
But I still mixed the Beyond beef probably 3 times as long as I did the bison. Really? I was trying to get protein extraction.
Yeah.
I tried. I just mixed. I was going at it, trying to get something out of it. And it just really wouldn't. I'm like, it's still protein. It should still get some extraction, but I think there's something different chemically going on there. We probably need to get Dylan in on that. He might have an idea, but
I know because I've asked him some questions on that in the past, and he doesn't. That's not what he focuses on at all. So part of what the salt does is helps you get to the center of the protein or center of the muscle and help you solubilize that protein in there. It's not the same structure with that, so it's not going to work the same.
Yeah.
I wonder though, how much was it? How many pounds of this did you buy?
2 pounds a piece.
How much was it?
$9 a pound for both.
$9 a pound for the Beyond Meat?
Yeah.
Well, that kills it right there.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it normally.
Yeah.
The only reason I would is if you really want sausage, and as we go through the times we're going through right now with COVID and everybody staying at home and beef and pork and chicken becoming harder to find, if you're just dying for a sausage, I think it would work for a fresh sausage. You can do it because you don't want protein extraction on that. It does kind of hold together. You're probably going to mix a lot more for a fresh sausage than you would normally, correct. But I don't know if I'd do a cured sausage. You're going to end up dry and crumbly, I think.
Yeah, probably.
It is different, but it doesn't really taste bad. It's just different.
No, it tasted good. $9 a pound is ridiculous. If you have your choice, absolutely, I'd rather spend $9 on bison.
Yeah.
That to me, that's not even a question. That's wild. That was a very good job. Well done there.
I don't get many compliments anymore.
That was good.
I appreciate that.
I'm very impressed by that. First of all, good job on cooking it. They both tasted great, and just a great idea all around.
We do have about 1.5 pounds more of each.
Do we really?
Yeah, because I was Actually, they're sitting out right now. So by the time we're done with the podcast, they may or may not be edible.
We're going to go fix that right now.
Okay. So up for the next segment, we've got our Meat Matters section.
Yep.
So that's where we kind of go and we try to find what's new and interesting in the meat world right now.
Yep.
I think there's a lot right now. It's a lot of interesting stories out there. So we kind of picked a few here that we thought were most applicable to either us or to the meat industry as a whole. The first one's about Devereaux. Do you want to take that one, John?
Sure. So Devereaux is who, if anyone has bought collagen casings from us for snack sticks, any type of sausage, breakfast links, that's who you're getting from, Devereaux, and they are an enormous provider.
They're huge.
I mean, worldwide too. So one of the advantages of Walton's is that you are getting the exact same casing that we send to a meat processing plant, we're sending to you at your home.
Yeah.
And they're up 2% despite all this insanity. So that to me shows that more people are turning to meat products that can last for a good amount of time.
Yeah. Because even as you see some of these bigger plants start to shut down,
Yep.
you would think, oh, a company like Devereaux, they're going to just fall off the map. But no, they're still increasing. So that shows even though some of these big plants are shutting down, the meat industry as a whole is still having a lot of good growth right now. 2% is, I guess, not good growth as a whole, but if you consider who's fallen out of the production,
going on,
that's still good growth for everyone else.
I do not like that.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
No.
Even though it has the lychee in it.
Yeah, no, and that could come with a bowl of lychees, and I still wouldn't like it. I'm not finishing that. No way. I will get another beer eventually. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was regenerative farming, something that's been kind of on my radar for a couple of months. Just been reading up on it, learning a little bit more and more, because I do think it's a really interesting idea, and it is starting to be adopted by a decent amount of, smaller to medium-sized farmers, but has the possibility of getting much, much bigger in the U.S. So a large portion of what it's centered around is an idea of like a holistic farming. But don't think holistic like holistic medicine, like woo-woo. It's grounded in very good science. What it's trying to do is take this unnatural environment that we've created in cattle farming, sheep farming, anything like that, and trying to make it like it would be if they were in the wild. So one of the big things that they're fighting against is what's called desertification. So that doesn't mean like you get dessert all the time. It means it creates a desert.
Well, I'm really not interested anymore if I don't get my cheesecake out of it.
So what that is when you've overfed cattle, sheep, anything on one patch of ground for a long time, eventually the roots are going to die. What's going to happen then is the ground's going to get hard. When it rains, the water won't be able to seep into the ground, and instead it's just going to get evaporated up. So you're creating a desert, even if that area has plenty of rainfall. So, a pretty bad thing that they're trying to fight over. One of the main ways that they fight that is they keep the animals in slightly tighter herds, but they move them more often. And that's supposed to mimic what they would be in the wild, because you've got, these ungulates, and that type of animal is generally a herd animal, not always, but generally, and they're going to stick tight together for protection against predators.
Yeah.
They're also going to move more. So what they do is they keep them in a smaller area for a shorter amount of time and then forcibly move them. They control their movements instead of just saying you have this 100-acre or whatever, go wherever you want. It's stay in this, 10 acres. Then a couple of days, we're going to move you to the next 10 acres. And the grass and soil is also able to better benefit from the fertilizing of, their dung.
Yeah. This whole thing is interesting.
It really is.
I'm going to have to ask my brother-in-law about what they do. Because one, I think more people doing like this would probably provide even more of a job for guys like my brother-in-law because he is like a legit cowboy.
Yeah.
I know some people don't think, oh, cowboys were like something of the olden times. No, there are still cowboys.
And I've met him, and he is
a
legit
cowboy.
Cowboy, yep.
Yeah. But that's what he does every day is he works with cattle. He's a cowboy. And I honestly don't know exactly how much or how far their spread is, and if they're moving cattle around or keeping them more in a certain area. But to see what his thoughts are on something like this would be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I may have to talk to him and come back on the next episode and see what his thoughts were on it. But
that'd be great.
It honestly, it sounds like it'd be a great idea. Because after the ground sits there for a while, that's why even at like your home, every now and then in your grass, you're supposed to run like an aerator.
Yep.
Because if you don't, it just turns into a solid
hard
clump.
Yep. It's like hard pack.
Everything's just either going to sit there, pool up, and like you said, evaporate,
run right
or
off.
it's going to run off.
Yep.
So yeah, it's an interesting thing that probably I don't think a lot of people probably think about or do, but probably can make a big difference on things.
And then one of the things that I thought was really cool that I learned about was overresting. You would think letting the land return to normal for long periods of time would be a great thing, but it's not. You then get old growth, but not like old growth forests or anything like that. You get old growth weeds, and they just die off, and then they prevent any sun making it down to so nothing grows there. So this also, A, they'll eat it, and B, they'll churn that up. So they'll get rid of that old growth. And then there's a white oak pastures, and I can't tell, they have farms both in Europe and they said North America. So I don't know where it is in North America. Not sure what it is, but they're saying that one of their farms at least is now sequestering more carbon than they're admitting. So they're actually not even carbon neutral, they're carbon negative.
What does that mean? Because how are you
capturing
how are
carbon?
You sequestering carbon?
I have no idea.
Okay. Because I don't want to get into this whole conversation over is livestock green,
right,
or quote unquote not green. But I think the bigger thing that people are concerned about there is methane. Actually,
it's such a small portion of the methane production. I would hope that anyone listening to this podcast already knows that the percentage of methane from cow is, I think, 3, and I think that's a high estimate.
I had a story pop in my news feed because the mainstream media wants you to see all the negative stuff out there, but about methane being a problem from like oil production, which honestly shouldn't be a problem right now because oil production is down a lot and it's going to keep going down. But I am very curious about how you're sequestering carbon.
Yeah. I really don't know. I'll try and get some more information on that, and we'll touch on that in the next one.
Okay. So after that story, some of the other stuff that we've got going on, some of the things I wanted to look up since I brought the Beyond Beef into the mix during our meat of the day and my little creation for Jon. I looked up some stats on where the meat industry is at a whole right now. Right now, they're saying that because there's been a few large pork plants that have shut down, they are starting to euthanize pigs, which is a really kind of sad deal because that's like taking bacon and just throwing it in the dirt and covering it over. And I feel like that is like one of the 7 deadly sins right there, is throwing bacon away. I mean, sometimes you have to do what you have to do, but on the other hand, I'm like, because animals, I think, are still animals.
Absolutely.
They're meant to be here for us to consume. But when we don't get to, I get very kind of depressed about that. I'm like, I don't want to let that go to waste. I want that bacon.
And I'm sure there's good reasons for it. I don't understand them. Like I would think you'd say, no, don't do that. Save them for later. But
when they get too old, they don't process the same. And when the places I think that are having issues with getting rid of their pork or hog supply, they're taking them to like the big processor,
Right.
some of the biggest pork producers in the country, and they're going to have strict limitations over what they accept. Like, no one wants to harvest a 15-year-old hog.
Right.
It's not going to taste right.
But don't you think right now, with the shortage about to hit the market, this might be a good time to say, hey, let's get off our dainty little high horse and eat some pork that might not taste as good?
You know, it could. I think in the short term, you'll probably see some waste and some loss there. A long-term solution, capitalism is boss. When demand outpaces supply, they'll find a way, and people will accept having something different on their dinner plate,
Right.
because they just want the pork. It may not be the same thing, same quality they're used to, and it's something that's a little tougher, maybe not as juicy because the fat's different or
Mhm.
whatever. But I think people will accept it over time. But that's a long-term solution. So we're kind of hoping that everything going on right now is a very short-term solution. If it's long-term, you're going to hear Jon and I 6 months from now, a year from now, having a whole different conversation. But right now, everybody is hoping it's short-term.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But they're saying that there's going to be like a $5 billion loss from pigs right now, just from the lack of them being able to be processed into food. On other things, beef production nationwide is 24% down, pork production is 20% down, and poultry production is 10% down. While those are insane numbers, I think that is all concentrated in the large market, big producers of the world.
Right.
Because everyone I talk to that's a small producer
is up.
Yeah. I even talked to another owner of a plant that's around the Wichita area here today, and he said they're just going insane.
Yep.
It's a family place, and they don't have a ton of employees, but they've hired more because they need more workers. They didn't have a very big retail area, and now they've expanded their retail area because they have new people coming in every day asking for stuff, and they're getting their normal, typical customers going, hey, instead of that just half or quarter beef and half hog, make it a half beef and give me a half hog and put another quarter beef and quarter hog on the list for me in like a week or two, because everybody's trying to fill their freezers. But you're seeing all this movement from the big industry down to the small mom and pop shops, which is really kind of cool. So for all of you out there listening, I would encourage you, if you're one of those people that are moving from the big industry down to the mom and pop shops, when we're talking about meat processing and where you buy your beef, your pork, your poultry, stay with those mom and pop shops after this whole thing's over, because those people are working their rear ends off right now to make sure that the food supply is still what it's supposed to be, since we have lost such a huge percentage from some of the quote unquote big boys out there, and they're picking up the slack. And don't just turn away from them when all this is over. Stay going to those mom and pop shops, because they're the ones that are really helping everybody out right now and making sure the food supply is where it needs to be when it comes to meat anyways.
Well, I was through Meatgistics, I was talking to Joe Hell, and he was talking about how insane they've been just trying to fill orders. And I said, when it goes back to normal, if it goes back to normal, if they can even keep 1 out of every 5 of those customers, that's an enormous increase of business on their part. So I do think at least 1 in 5 people will be like, well, that was way better than the sausage I'm getting from the grocery store. So I think that is going to happen. I think there'll be one of the long-term outcomes of this will be a push away from larger meat markets to smaller quality butchers. And then on somewhat of the same note, I have a friend who manages the Hormel bacon processing plant here, and he said they're just nonstop go, 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 go. They can't possibly keep up.
Yeah, I think even the big producers that are still open, they're still
because they're trying to pick up the slack.
Oh.
So yeah, that is nuts. Now that last one, I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, okay. it's not what it seems necessarily. So
Okay.
the last thing under Meat Matters for the day is to talk about Beyond Meat, because we had the Beyond Beef today, to make some breakfast sausage out of that. They are up 40%.
That's
However,
huge numbers.
that is stock price. The stock price is up 40%.
Okay.
So
That's
the
not
stock
processing.
price,
Okay.
no, it's not the amount that they're producing. It is a lot of speculation because
Yeah, I don't
people are
care about that then.
speculating that
Okay.
there's going to be a movement to that. But I think the movement, I hope anyways, the movement is going to the smaller processors out there. The mom and pop shops go to that small town butcher shop or meat market instead of the grocery store, or huge supermarket. When they start running out of more and more meats and you can't find what you want, don't go to the Beyond Beef. Like if you do, I mean, it's still it like John and I were talking about before. It wasn't bad.
No.
It didn't have the same flavor or same texture, but they did a good job of getting close anyways.
Yeah. But that was one of the things that was a couple of years ago. I was talking to a vegan friend of mine, and he's like, well, if you have like Morningstar Farms, so-and-so, it tastes just like, I'm like, right. So even you admit that the taste of beef is what you want, because everything you make, you try to make taste like. Why not just have the real thing? Like, and this is a healthy kid. Like, you have to understand that whatever they're putting together to put in yours, like at least mine's natural. Like yours has all sorts of additives and flavorings just so that you can say it doesn't have animal protein in it. But I digress.
Yeah.
I really do not have a problem with vegans. I honestly,
no, I don't.
I think somebody who responsibly tries to source their meat, like a hunter, somebody who eats most of meat that they hunt themselves, probably has more in common with a vegan than they do with somebody who doesn't hunt and only goes and buys their meat at the grocery store.
That is honestly very true.
Yeah.
But they're two groups of people that kind of fight at each other, even though like
not as bad anymore. I don't think
they are similar because they have similar concepts in mind. It's just there's a fork in the road after the first big fork in the road. Like do you want something more natural, or do you just want the stuff that's been made and manufactured and has an ingredient list that is 10 miles long?
Yep.
And it's it honestly, it's very similar. It's just it comes down to a matter of that smaller fork down the road that says, am I willing to eat animal protein or am I not?
And I have like, if somebody wants to be vegan, that's great for them. I don't try to make them eat meat as long as they don't try to make me be vegan.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I honestly, I will never say anything bad about anybody that's vegan or the whole vegan movement, because I have no issues against it, because there's a lot of good from both sides of it, and I don't think either one is necessarily a bad direction to take. Everyone just has to make their own choice. But yeah, same as you, is where I have the problem is I don't want someone else to tell me that I'm a bad person for doing this, that I think is honestly my God-given right to be able to
totally natural
hunt, kill, and eat animals.
Yep.
But if someone else chooses not to, then I'm not going to fault them for that. No. That's their own choice, and I'll stand behind them and support them. But I kind of want them to stand behind me and support me too.
Absolutely.
Everyone makes their own choice, but we can all still respect those choices.
Yep. And I think it's a very minor, a very vocal minority of that movement that it's super aggressive.
Yes,
against.
True.
I mean, that's a very small, and they give them all a bad
Very
name,
true.
and they are not all like that. There's plenty of people I know who are vegetarian or vegan and don't care at all that somebody else is choosing to eat meat. So for meat hacks this week, we've got something that's going to help people who do a lot of sausage and snack sticks by themselves.
Yeah.
Like me.
I am excited, even though you are the one that uses this more often.
Yeah.
Just because I have handled this piece of equipment in the last week or two here, and it's been a pain to move. And that's kind of the point.
That is the point.
You don't want it to move.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about, John? So for those of us watching YouTube, you get a visual.
Our sausage stuffer that I removed the rubber feet on the bottom and replaced them with these suction cup feet. So this replaces the need to clamp or bolt this down to the table to prevent it from rocking.
These feet are going to be included on all of our new sausage stuffers come sometime this fall,
which will be awesome.
They are in production right now. We're working on trying to find out how to get feet in a mass quantity, but not spend so much that we had to increase the price.
Sure.
And as we were working on that, they were going to be several dollars a piece. We got them down to more or less next to nothing, enough that we're just going to say we're not changing the price of the sausage stuffer.
The cost.
Yeah, so we're going to eat the cost on it, but we should have extras from production on our next run of sausage stuffer. So anybody out there that wants to retrofit, they can retrofit on your existing Walton's 7, 11, 26, or 33-pound sausage stuffer. But
haven't tried it on the 33 pounds or 26, but I imagine it'll still work well.
They're all the same feet, so it should fit. It's just a matter of the weight difference.
Yes, that'd be my concern, I guess. I mean, I'll try it on the 26 and 33 pound. I still think it'll work. Those are heavier, so it will hold it down better. Now, one of the big things is you need a fairly smooth surface for it to work well. It'll still work on something like this table with a textured surface.
Yeah, some wood texture.
Yeah, just not quite as well. In this environment, I might recommend putting a little bit of water down on the table and really give it something to
so
to.
Tell them how it works on like our solid surfaces. That quartz granite. I don't know what that is.
I believe it's quartz.
Okay,
crushed
but
quartz.
even I was pulling it off the shelf from the back here, which is just a standard kitchen countertop. And it doesn't come off.
It
very
works
easily.
too well.
Yeah, it almost works too well.
You cannot pick it straight up off a smooth surface like that. You have to slide it to an edge and then they come off. But you cannot just lift it straight up. It's not happening.
It does happen. I actually tried to do it and I did it the other
day. Oh, really? Okay.
The way I did it though is because I went in and I needed to mess with it. I don't remember. I was doing something with my dad, our CEO and president. We were looking at stuff because we were talking about some of our Walton's branded products. So we were looking at our sausage stuffer, and I tried to pick it up, and I'm like, oh, that's not going anywhere. But I was like, I don't want to slide it out. I'm like, that's probably harder. Now I slide it off because that is easier. But I just stuck a finger and a fingernail under each one and individually popped them up.
You can do that.
If you get to 2, you can
then you
pop
can do
it up.
Yep. But all 4 of them together are just
all 4 of them together. Yeah,
they create some sort of super force that is basically impossible.
I feel like the inner Jon right now is just giggling and laughing and just having so much fun because stuffing by yourself is literally probably 1,000 times easier
now.
Yeah, yes,
absolutely. Absolutely. And I apologize. This did come from a Meatgistics user who thought that this might be a good idea. I immediately ordered those parts, tested it out. And I mean, from the first day I did it, I probably walked into your office with an enormous grin on my face. I'm like, this is so much better. Because it is kind of hard to clamp it down. The clamp gets in the way. It comes undone. You have to be near an edge that has a lip to clamp it. So this just eliminates all of that. Makes it a lot easier. And I assume we've patented this, so anyone who tries to copy us, we'll send them a cease and desist letter.
We might patent it. So if anyone tries to copy us, don't do it.
All right. So that is one of the coolest things that we've done in a while. But for something that I thought is even... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, since this came from a Meatgistics user, and this is not the first thing, because each of our podcasts so far, we've talked about things that we have gotten from Meatgistics users to either make a product better or make a process better. I was just going to say, for anyone out there, since this is our Meatgistics podcast, if you do not belong to our Meatgistics community, you need to, because we read every single stinking post out there, and there's a lot anymore, and we get a ton of great ideas from you guys. Sometimes it may not always seem like we read every post or we're just enthralled by all your ideas and suggestions, but trust me, we are listening and we do pay attention to them and we do use them. That's the big thing, is we do use them. And one of these things like this, I think is going to make life for thousands and thousands and thousands of processors
Yep.
a lot easier.
Yep. And for you guys who are putting forward these suggestions that we incorporate, use to make better products, a better process, just remember, we are still moving forward with our Meatgistics MVP. We don't have it totally figured out yet, but things like this will factor into that. So
Yes.
there is definitely a benefit to you too. So just don't feel like we're stealing your ideas and hogging all the credit. And next podcast, I will find who it was who gave us that idea.
Okay.
And we'll get moving on that. Now, for new and featured products, can we talk about?
Can I guess what it's going to be? Since
can
I know
you-
what it is.
Yeah, I
No, go ahead.
so we can figure this podcast won't come out for a couple of weeks at best. By then we'll have it ordered and maybe on its way.
Yeah, I mean, what we will list this one as is it is a prototype.
Right.
It is something that is coming. We're not going to guarantee or tell anyone it's going to be here by this date, this time, but we have a new prototype.
Yes. And that prototype is awesome.
Yeah.
It is a 50-pound mixer. And it has a couple of things on it that, in my opinion, make it far superior to products that we've had in the past that are similar. So first, it comes on a stand. So it's no longer attached to the feet in the same way. So you've got a stand, and then the barrel or the body of it is kind of free floating.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a lock pin on the side, and on that side of the canister, it has a few places where that lock pin will fit in. One of those is obviously straight up and down.
Yeah,
makes the most sense. That's where you're going to live most of the time. One of them is all the way upside down, and that's how you'll receive it. It comes with the barrel facing down, just makes it easier for shipping.
Yeah.
But then it's got two for either direction to be at about a 100-degree angle.
Oh, well, from horizontal, 45 degrees down. So like 135 degrees.
Okay, 135 degrees. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's going to make dumping so much easier.
Yeah, so like when you're done mixing and you're going to like a meat lug or a poly pan, it's 100 times easier. You don't have to like reach your hand in, get super dirty as you're doing it.
All over your arm.
Yeah. You're going to be able to tilt it down, have your pan right there next to it, and just kind of scoop it and fall it out. Or
which worked perfectly, what you're about to say.
Yeah, if you're hooked up to a meat grinder, which it should hook up to multiple different models and manufacturers of meat grinders. You turn that powered mixing on for just a second or two, and it'll start pushing it out for you.
Yep.
So you don't have to sit in there and scrape every last bit out yourself. You're still going to have to scrape
the last bit. Yep.
But the
vast majority comes out on its own. It is a beautiful thing to watch.
It's amazing.
The only thing I will say is if your poly pan is too high and you can't lock it into that bottom one, when you tilt it and go to turn on your grinder, make sure that you have braced it down. Otherwise, it will go the other way.
Well, I would say don't do that. Let's still lock it in. Just set it on something.
Okay, so for
that would be the
safer
for safety's
answer.
sake.
Yes. Make sure you lock it in. Fine. Good point.
That will be written into the manual. Hopefully, don't listen to John.
I did 2 25-pound batches yesterday, and because you can fit 50 pounds in there. But fitting 50 pounds of meat, 5 pounds of cheese, 6 pounds of seasoning, a couple pounds of water, then you're over 50 pounds.
Well, yeah, now you're at like 60 something.
Exactly. So it will fit 50. It will. I put all 50 pounds of meat in there. It'll definitely fit in there.
You have to consider what your additives are.
Exactly.
What is your total weight?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I knew once I started adding those things, there was no way to evenly split that out again. So I was like, it's just not worth risking. But the good news there in my mind is that it did a 25-pound batch perfectly. My fear is 25 pounds going to be too little for it if it's wanting 50 pounds. But it wasn't. I let it run for 7 minutes and 8 minutes and 7 minutes, and it was perfect. I mean, perfect protein extraction, perfect distribution of seasoning, cheese, everything.
So when you say 8 minutes and 7 minutes, did you switch directions? Did you do
Nope.
anything there?
All in the same direction.
So you ran 8, and then you ran
7.
another 7?
No. Sorry. First batch was 8 minutes. Second batch was 7 minutes.
Okay, I gotcha. So yeah, so we stick in our normal time frame of 8 minutes average for a cycle to get your protein extraction properly mixed, because you did make a cured product, correct?
I did.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, that fits perfectly. And I think some of the added benefits there are really going to be loved by everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to promise what the price will be, but right now, we don't think that it's going to be any more expensive than any other meat mixer on the market right now. It's going to fall in line with all the other major brands and what they price similar, like 40 to 50 pound mixers at. Yep. It's going to be that price or less. So,
which is awesome.
It's going to be a game changer.
Yep. And it is a little bit bigger. So the other ones, some of the other ones are like in the mid 40s.
Yeah.
This one says 50. I did measure it out. It's a little bit wider from where the axle is. It's a little wider that way. It's a tiny bit narrower the other way, but I also think it's deeper. So it is legitimately a bigger container overall. So that 50 pounds is legitimate. Speaking of pricing, we are going to start giving coupon codes out with these podcasts. So this is going to be podcast 24, and that's going to be 10% off any non-sale item at waltonsinc.com.
Yep.
Cap that at $100. So you could buy $1,000 or something, get $100 off. You could buy $1,200 or something, get $100 off.
Yeah. Now, did you get this authorized, John?
I authorized it myself.
Oh, okay.
I've determined I now have that power.
That's all I need to know. Yeah. So podcast 24, get your 10% off on your next order at waltonsinc.com.
Yep. All right. And then for Meatgistics updates, earlier podcasts touched on this lightly, but I do want to talk about one of my favorite topics. And that was Texas. What did everybody cook today?
That has grown in popularity so much.
It's amazing.
That one still, like, I have to find certain times of the day to look at it and read it.
Yep.
I cannot look at that one when I am like within like 2 hours of eating a meal, because I will instantly go back to the break room and like buy snacks and do something, because everything on this post is some of the most delicious things I've ever seen. I
said that this morning, that I'm going to start just ignoring that post until noon.
Yeah.
Because this morning I'm like, all right, today's the day I'm going to get back on track of intermittent fasting and not eating till 10, 11, somewhere around there. I saw that post and I immediately was like, all right, well, I've got a Chobani Flip next door. I've got an apple. I'm going to go eat both of those immediately. I mean, just absolutely awesome stuff.
Ooh, who did this one? So I'm pulling up the post right now. Papa Sop. Yep. Hashtag Team Orange. I mean, he's got some meat products on there as well.
Pizza.
Some steak and stuff. And then he's got pizza.
Go down to Garden Fanatics, Garden Nut.
Garden Nut. Oh.
Those look awesome.
Yeah, that looks like some good
I
pizza.
love the huge pepperoni. Look at the size of that. That looks awesome.
That's one of the things I love about Meatgistics, though, is that it is not all just about sausage making. I mean, it is very much food related 90% of the time. There's still off-topic stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if it's more or less than 90%, but to kind of give everybody out there that doesn't follow Meatgistics super closely, there is a little bit of everything. It is a community. People talk about anything going on, but I love seeing pizza, like this chicken parmesan. It's a foodie channel. Is really what it is.
That's fair.
If you like food, you're gonna love Meatgistics. And right now, I'm getting close enough to dinner time. I don't know why I'm looking at this. My mouth is salivating right now because I'm looking at all this delicious food.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to actively try not to respond or look at this thread anymore until I'm ready to eat, because every time, and I've probably made 5-6 comments on this thread saying that exact same thing. But I am finally going to enact that rule where this is ignored until I'm ready to eat.
Yeah.
Because it really is just too hard to look at it and then not just go and eat everything I can.
I'm still salivating right now. I can't stop.
So for future episodes, we really do want some questions from you guys to cover, some ideas, things you want to see. So we did create podcast@waltonsinc.com. Please email any of your questions, comments. Austin and I are going to be monitoring that.
Even if you guys just have a shout out, email us whatever's on your mind, and we will pick out. It depends on how many we get. We probably aren't going to be able to cover all of them during an episode,
right?
But we will pick out a few random shout outs, a few random questions,
yep.
And just let you guys get some airtime, basically.
Sure.
I think that is going to be the next interesting piece to our Meatgistics podcast, is having customers provide some input as to where that episode goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Once we start releasing these, get some feedback, see what's working, see what isn't, and giving them more of a platform on here. I think that will be helpful. I don't have anything else.
I think that wraps it up for
the day. I'm done.
So probably the last thing for the day, we'll give you guys one more coupon code. We've got podcast 25. That coupon code is going to get you 15% off any order at waltonsinc.com, as long as it's not an item already on sale.
Or clearance.
That's still technically on sale.
Whatever.
So yeah, podcast 25, 15% off. And that will cap out at $100. That's kind of our normal deal. But use that, save a little bit extra.
We want to see who's listening to the very end.
Yeah, we're going to use it to see who's actually paying attention to us.
Yep.
We're not going to lie. Anybody actually, if you want to ask more questions about that or other things that are not a typical, hey, how do I make sausage? Again, like we said, email us at podcast@waltonsinc.com. Anything that's on your mind, let us know and we'll get back to you, or we'll call you out on air and fill those questions in with some answers.
It will be interesting to see how this all works out, because with a normal podcast, even this sounds weird, the audience is the product. So the audience is what you're selling to your advertisers.
We are our own advertisers.
Exactly. We're different. We are creating this for you. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. I mean, this ulterior motive sounds like nasty. And I mean, obviously we have a reason for doing this, but it's not that we want to get more people watching and then sell your attention to an advertiser.
No, yeah. The whole point is just to, honestly, I feel like it's more grassroots than a lot of podcasts, because we're not trying to build it to build more ad revenue.
Right.
The whole reason of us building this is to just get more listeners, period. That's really all we care about, is we just want to entertain people. We want to inform people. We want those that are interested in food and meat in any avenue there to get answers
and to bring them to Meatgistics.
Yeah. And kind of just grow that whole community around food, meat, and making sausage. Although the people that do that still, I mean, like I said, with Meatgistics, it's not all that. Other things are brought up. So you're going to see other things on the podcast. Yep. I'm absolute 100% positive on that. We're not going to stick to the script. We usually don't stick to the script. But you guys are going to drive it. Like, that is the ultimate deal. There's not an advertiser behind the scenes.
Nope.
Now, Jon is sitting back behind here trying to poke buttons and direct it in his way. And I'm just kidding. But it's all about what you guys want. So let us know what you want, and we're going to provide as much as we can there.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Thanks guys. We'll see you next week, 2 weeks, whenever.